Again, pillar prep's going to stay the same. When we get into movement prep, the only thing that's going to change is our shuffle to cut is not going to be a shuffle to run. So please reference back to week 1 and 2 if you do have any questions. When we move into our plyos and rotation, largely we're going to stay the same. Again, we're going to modify that bounding and skip protocol a little bit. Now instead of going 2 rights, 2 lefts, we're going to go 3 rights, 3 lefts. Our lateral hops, instead of stability focus, are now going to be at a continual focus. So we're touching ground nice and quick between each rep. When we go to our strength block number 1, our RDLs are going to increase from 4 sets of 8 to 4 sets of 10. And again, our lateral pillar bridge will increase in time. Bent over rows are also going to go up by 2 reps. So we're just accumulating more volume. When we get into strength number 2, our Nordic Holds are going to increase in time. Our high to low rows are going to increase in reps. And then our prone swimmers will stay the same. Finally, our jog to run or our 1-to-1 work to rest ratio for our energy system development, instead of 8 rounds, will be... Okay, starting our movement prep, Brett is gonna go through 2 sets of 10 bridges where he's focusing on keeping his rib cage down, creating that nice straight line from knee, hip to shoulder. Moving on to move number 2, he's gonna grab something he can place in between his knees. He's gonna go toes up, reaching up towards the sky, then touching down towards his toes. He's then gonna go to his heels, reaching up, touching down towards his toes, and then finally, feet flat on the ground. Move number 3 is going to be a bear crawl where he's working some stability through the shoulder girdle, but also that cross body movement. Keeping his back nice and flat, everything's nice and tight. Moving on to move number 5, we're gonna go into our base of support to cut, loading the inside edge of that foot that we're stepping out in so he can be efficient as he comes through his cutting motion.
All right, first we're gonna work on Pogos here. So quick off the ground, working on good tissue tolerance. From there, we're taking that into bounding, getting good separation of the legs, knees up, toes up, really working on that arm drive there. We're gonna bring it back and we're doing lateral bounds. I want you guys to stick in this one. So you're jumping over, working on a good landing, soft knee, bend that knee, keep that core tight and don't let that knee cave in. Here we go, Ryan. Nice, the last one was it. Taking that into Pallof Press. So you're gonna need a band for this one or something that you can use as a band. You're gonna hold it on with your inside hand, feet right outside the shoulders. We're pushing out, we're pausing a second, and we're coming back in. Keeping that core nice and tight, resisting that rotation.
All right, so this is our strength block number 1 on day 2. We are using a band here, but for your RDLs and your bent over rows, you can use book bags if you have bands, some weights, light dumbbells. Use what you can find. So here, Brett's focusing on hinging back, keeping a nice and neutral spine as he goes through and squeezing his glutes, exhaling at the top. Next, he is gonna go into his bent over rows, thinking driving those elbows into his back pocket as he squeezes at the top of that motion. This is why bands are really good for this one movement. Finally, last move of the strength block, Brett's gonna drop down into a lateral pillar bridge. Big thing here, guys, is we wanna make sure that we're keeping that elbow underneath our shoulder so we're not putting any undue stress on that glenohumeral joint. Brett's got his hips up nice and high. Looks good there. Brett's gonna start strength block number 2 with some Nordic Holds. He has his feet underneath our dumbbell rack, but if you can find something that works for you like a couch, that'll be just great. Squeeze those butt cheeks as you fall out. Next, Brett is gonna come over to a band again. We're gonna attach that above the head, and he's gonna go through his high to low rows. Big thing here, everybody, is as Brett is at the top of that motion, he really wants upward rotation through that scapula. So if you see Brett rotating, that's so he can get a nice stretch on that lat and clean up some of that gunk that's going on underneath his shoulder blade. Finally, Brett's gonna drop down into a prone position. We are gonna go through swimmer. So we're working a lot of that posterior shoulder girdle and upper back. Notice the height away from the ground as he goes through his motion. We want to really try to elevate by pulling up on the rear delts. All right, so finally for our ESD, we're going at a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio. Brett's going to come and show us that run. We are going for 6 rounds on week 1, 1-to-1 ratio. So if you're running for 30 seconds, you will be resting for 30 seconds.